It's on. Rossa Prada Pirelli, INEOS Team UK.
Oh, we knew this was going to be hard, but this is brutal.
What would I take from the English boats? Pretty much nothing.
What they have is nothing special.
Well, it's payback time. We are those British guys from the round robins.
Yeah, it's a bit of a Hollywood no penalty.
Protest.
All right, guys, calm down. It's good.
If it's anything like that last race was, we went against them, man, bring it on.
Okay.
Rossa Prada Pirelli are not going away.
Now INEOS, boys.
Yeah, we are sniffing revenge on INEOS.
Whoa!
Skidding sideways, skidding hard sideways.
They have blown everybody away, and they've done it in style.
There's plenty of bluster in the America's Cup. You know, we let our results do the talking on the water. That's all that counts.
We've been through a lot of hurt over the past couple months, and we're mad for a fight.
Go for our lane. We're copy at the moment. Copy.
Well, we don't fear anything. You respect your opponents. You don't fear them. You want to be racing at the highest level against the best. And this is it, so we're excited.
It is on. The excitement is real. The tension ahead of race one of the 2021 Prada Cup finals is simply at fever pitch. Tēnā koto katoa, hello and welcome to Aotearoa, New Zealand. Welcome to Tamaki Makaurau, Auckland, home to the 36th America's Cup. So many questions may or may not be answered on this opening day of the Prada Cup finals. How much faster can the challenger of record, Rossa, go? How much more impressive will INEOS Team UK be after 6 days of tinkering, 10 days of training, following their direct entry to the stage of the regatta? We should get some answers today on the pristine waters of the Waitemata Harbour. If you are just catching up with the Prada Cup, Rossa Prada Pirelli advanced to the final on the back of a 4-0 whitewash of American Magic in the semi-finals. They earned the right to face INEOS Team UK, who after finishing top of the round robin series, got direct entry into this trophy showdown. The Prada Cup final is a best of 13 race series. Simply, it's the first team to win 7 races, and they advance to the match against Emirates Team New Zealand. 2 races a day, 1 point for each win. Today, as the highest qualifier, INEOS Team UK have chosen starboard entry for race 1, giving Rossa entry into the pre-start first off port. That will then swap over for race number 2. Our sailing experts are primed and pumped. Shirley Robertson, Nathan Outteridge, Kenny Reid, and today we welcome on American Magic's testing manager, Anderson Reggio. Kenny, let's start with you. One word encapsulates what both teams are feeling today. That word is pressure.
Well, family, friends, teammates, shore crews, you name it. Everyone involved with the challenger of record has a pit in their stomach today. This is different. No matter if you're a hardened veteran, an absolute rookie, I always thought the dockouts were the hardest part of the day. But once you're out on the water, athletes get into go mode. Do your job. Your training is ingrained, so simply let it all happen.
Watching the dockout, you get a real sense of how massive a day this is for the sailors, the designers, shore teams, and of course all their families who've lived through this journey so far to get to this point. For this team, after a much talked about disastrous performance pre-Christmas, they really turned things around in the round robin. 5-0, a big statement from Ben Ainsley. But today, it all starts again. A clean slate, and this outfit looks confident. They look ready.
And surely you cannot underestimate, this is a whole new ball game today.
It all starts again, Stephen, and both teams, they're fast, they're aggressive, and they're hungry. I can't wait.
Well, yesterday we had a training session. We had practice racing, and quite frankly, they both look smooth. They look confident. There's nothing really to tear apart on either of these boats right now. Let's just go sailboat racing.
So bring it on. Coming up, race 1 of the Prada Cup finals in 2021. Cannot wait.
Nice.
Let's go, the challenger of record.
Rossa Prada Pirelli is in their record-tying 5th challenge for the America's Cup. The Prada outfit has its marks all over this event, but what's often forgotten is this is the 4th Challenger finals reached in Mr. Pirelli's 5 attempts. Quite simply, Rossa over the years has been a really consistent performer. Speaking of consistency, the afterguard of Bruni, Spithill, and Sabalo have made great strides recently in anticipation of an absolute slugfest out on the water.
Oh, I think Rossa is as ready as we can be. Like, we have done all of the improvement we want on the boat in the time we had. We've been training really hard the last 10 days since we finished the semi-final. We've been sharpening all our maneuvers, our call, our execution. So I think you can see us, or you will see us very sharp today. Where INEOS is a big question mark. Have they made a big improvement? Have they got faster? We don't know. We're just going to go out there, do our best, do our racing, and push hard.
And here is INEOS Team UK.
20 days since we last seen this team out racing, and a confidence in their racing skills has meant much of that time has been devoted to upgrading the hardware. The grinding, trimming talent is impressive on this boat, but the spotlight for sure is on the much talked about afterguard. Mon on throttle, McMillan and Parkinson sharing the piloting duties, then Giles Scott, the tactical mastermind so trusted by his skipper Ben Ainsley, the most successful Olympic sailor of all time, fronting his team the only way he knows how.
Well, Ben, he leads from the front and he leads by example, and he's been the perfect guy to be in charge of our team. We had a lot of problems over the Christmas regatta, and that's no secret. And Ben's motivation and his intensity and his energy is really what's turned this team around. So, we all live off that, and we're happy to go out there and follow him and do some racing today.
Well, today we're out on Course A on the Hauraki Gulf. A light sea breeze is filled from the northeast and is expected to build throughout the evening. The 2-minute start sequence is the prelude to a 3-lap windward leeward course with 1.7-mile legs. Tight boundaries, a half-mile apart, are a primary part of the modern America's Cup course. Finish downwind, get ready for race 2, rinse and repeat, and today we have a fresh new view out on the water. It's Nathan Outeridge high in the sky and Heli 2. Nathan, wind, current, what are you seeing?
Hey Ken, it's good to be out here. It's good to be up nice and high. Great view of the race course. Plenty of spectators out there, and as you can see from these graphics, the current is coming in. It's coming in with the wind. The wind's from the northeast today. The currents, you can see it. The dirty water is coming back in once again after being pushed out. What it means is that this current coming in is traveling with the wind. So the breeze is very light, and as this current increases, it's going to make it even harder. So we're really hoping the breeze picks up. From my position up here, it looks pretty soft, particularly at the top of the course. Neither boat's made it to the top mark yet in any of their pre-sailing. So very marginal conditions at the moment.
So it's a beautiful day out on the Waitemata Harbour at the Hauraki Gulf for this opening day. We have her in the commentary position, Lady Shirley. Well, we like to call her Dame Shirley, but we are really ready to go for this one because it promises to be one of the most enthralling series that you can look forward to, because quite simply, no one knows what to expect.
Right at the bottom of the wind range here, Shirley. Right down. Look, we've seen some pretty exciting bottom of the wind range races, though. Never before, I proclaim, never in the history of sailing have we called a light air race really exciting. But when the race hinges on getting on your foils or not getting on your foils, huge comebacks, huge passes, it actually can be kind of interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it's great to watch. We just don't know what's going to happen. And I mean, I think there'll be a tactic here of trying to get your opponent off the foils. We saw how convincing that was in some of the previous light wind races.
Huge crowds on the Vardic. They are excited. They are ready to go for the race 1 of the Prada Cup 2021. Who do you want? Will it be Rossa Prada Pirelli, or will it be INEOS Team UK, yet to suffer defeat in the Prada Cup series? And that at the moment is a telling story. We do know that the race has been pushed back. The race start has been pushed back because we're at the lower end of the wind limit to 4:19 local time. That's They're a little under 8 minutes or so from now. And I know you've been listening to onboards, Shirley, about how they might come into the pre-start area. What's the talk coming off the boats?
Well, we saw a rope coming off the front of INEOS there. They have been practicing towing in, so just getting as much speed and momentum as they can until they have to enter the box. I mean, it's a technique, Kenny.
It's certainly a technique. It's a technique that they've had to do quite often in this really light air, but it also really shows that the timing becomes more difficult because they're really fearful of doing maneuvers right now, Stephen, and because attacking a jibe is the most vulnerable spot where you splash down, you get off the foils, and you're totally out of sorts. So this is a scary. I can tell you right now, on board these crews, this is a scary moment with this light air.
So the question I have is just going around in my head right now, because we've been building up to these so-called elbows out pre-starts. So for both the likes of Spittle and Bruni against Ainsley and Scott, how does this change the dynamic coming into the box and what they had actually planned for maybe a bit more wind?
I think you can't be too aggressive. It's high risk, isn't it? Be too aggressive and then, you know, you fall off the foils and then you're stuck. But saying that, Stephen, it's a tool that you can use.
So we are looking at INEOS Team UK. Look, let's be blunt. Everybody, all the talk around the verdict, all the talk is this team comes in as slight favourites because of their performance. Let's go onto the water. We've got a new voice on the water today in Chase Boat 1. That's the American Magic testing manager, Anderson Reggio. So we've got a little bit of time, Anderson. What you see the conditions like and how you're feeling about this race and how it might pan out.
Yeah, on the water here right now, you get a little bit better pressure down towards the bottom of the track. I'm actually looking at Emirates Team New Zealand well off the left-hand side of the racetrack right now, showing a masterclass of light air tacking. But on the racetrack itself, it's pretty light and patchy as you work further up the track, and it's going to be all about staying on the foils for these guys today. It has to be in this light air that we're probably going to see here for this first race.
Anderson, you've been following these boats around for a long time, and do you see any bits and pieces that we may not have seen yet? Anything on these boats that stand out that are new, that have come on board over the last 2-3 weeks?
Yeah, Luna Rossa specifically has done a lot of work on their aero. They've always looked the sleekest from an aero standpoint. And now you can actually see that they've got some new fairings that help to do a great job of hiding the crew, both on the inboard and the outboard side of those crew pods there. They're almost starting to look more and more like Emirates Team New Zealand with how well their crew's hidden in there.
All right, looking forward to your insight as this race finally gets on and unfolds. Anderson, let's go back up to Heli 2 and just get a feeling for what the wind is doing, the currents. Nathan, what gives?
Hi, Stephen. It's not a whole lot has changed right now. It still looks pretty light. As Anderson was saying, it's definitely windier at the bottom of the race course, closer to the land. That sea breeze is sucking back into the land. But as we look up the course outside of the spectators area, not a whole lot of wind further upwind. And you know, just as I'm here, I'm looking out to the west coast because we know what happens at this time of year with the two sea breezes fighting. Out on the west coast, the southwest has come in through the heads. It's heading towards the airport, and that's probably slowing this progression of the sea breeze down. So it's really going to be a waiting game at the moment. I can see INEOS foiling in the center of the race course right now as we speak, looking like they've got plenty of breeze. Prada look like they're about to top onto the foils themselves now as well. So maybe it's starting to come in a little bit, but it's still very marginal right now.
Nathan Outteridge from Artemis, the skipper, up at Heli 2 today, giving us a
the race committee.
simple...
The wind sampling period is complete, and this race is live.
Bird's eye view, and there we go. It's good to go. Race committee say we have enough wind, so okay. Settle down, get yourself comfortable, because this is where it all starts now. I just got goosebumps. I don't know what it was, but here we go. We're getting ready for race 1 of the Prada Cup Final 2021. There is no turning back. And I've got to say, right here, Shirley, how important is it to win race 1?
It would be good to make a statement. I mean, they're both, it matters a lot, Stephen, and they're both very much up for this. It's amazing, isn't it? We now have just over 8 knots on the committee boat. So that 2-knot difference, they've gone from towing into the starting box to doing 30-something knots.
I'm ready. Well, I guess it's our job to talk about it, but I'm ready for the world to be able to stop talking about the pundits, the experts around the world. It's like they said, there's now how many million new fans and experts in foiling monohulls, we can stop talking about it soon and we can start actually enjoying the racing.
This is Rossa Prada Pirelli. They will have port entry because INEOS Team UK chose as the highest finisher after the round robin because they got direct entry. They would take starboard entry. So at 2 minutes and 10 seconds, Rossa can come into the pre-start area.
We still have a boat that may be slightly suspect in light air in INEOS, but we know they made huge improvements. But I would say if there's a factor here right now, it's still the possible light air advantage of the Italians.
3 seconds and counting, and look at this. It's probably pre-programmed, but it looks like Rossa Prada Pirelli just slightly late coming in, but that doesn't matter. I'm sure they want to wait as long as they can to come in, particularly one might suggest in the light air.
Well, this is actually pretty darn good timing by both boats right now, and what could be catastrophic, surely. I mean, you don't want to make the big mistake right now, right? That's really what they're looking for.
At all costs, stay up on the foil.
We will be on our dirt.
Let's go on board the boats. Let's see how they're thinking ahead of race start 1 in the Prada Cup.
Okay, slowly down, guys. EMG downwind, okay?
See, copy. Ready to trim. Trim, boys. Trim.
Yeah, just going to try and get up here. That's all that matters. Copy.
INEOS has come off the foils, are very close to it. They're so close to this. That's got to be heart in the throat moment for Ben Ainsley right now.
Pretty light, full power. But we can't get up here. We're going to attack.
Yeah, copy that.
Okay.
He doesn't have a piece.
Okay, hunt him here and try to make him even in a tougher spot, or does he just take the advantage, Shirley? Just go for it. It might be a little early back to the starting line, given their position in the starting box.
Following the mats, boys. Just looking for a good acceleration here, guys.
Oh, INEOS is so vulnerable here. For Rossa, it's all about time and distance.
They're falling off right now as well. They're falling, so this is really a big lull in the starting area right now. Big advantage to these guys, though. The Italians, they look like they're closest to getting the boat going.
Less than 20 seconds to start. INEOS, Rossa, Prada Pirelli back up on the foils. INEOS to the right of your screen, off the foils.
Just on the line, yeah. Just right on time. You've got to be careful.
Copy.
Okay,
better mate.
And we are away. Prada Cup Finals 2021. And the battle for the right to challenge Emirates Team New Zealand for the old mug starts now. And it's Rossa in command from the go.
Pressure in front.
They showed the British boat over the line early. That's obviously off to the side. They're just going to loop around this mark and go between the starting marks and try to get their boat going. Surely. This isn't exactly the start that the sailing world anticipated, unfortunately.
We were expecting a street fight, Kenny. We didn't quite get that. I mean, this was always going to be the risk in this amount of wind pressure. Also, Prada always seems to be a little bit slippier. If it does touch down, it seems to be able to kiss and go. Whereas we look at INEOS, quite often they're velcroed to the ocean.
Slow turn up here.
No problem.
You can almost sense, just listening to Jimmy Spittle and Francesco Brini, they're tiptoeing their way up the course at the moment, just not wanting to push it too hard.
They're just getting going here on INEOS. They're getting closer and closer by the second. They had to get up through that starting box, first of all, and now they're doing everything. They're like pumping, rocking, and ooching the boat to try to get the thing to pop out of the water. Really close. 18 knots, Shirley, that's close. Yeah, here we go.
You need to get 20 knots of boat speed to be able to just lift her up.
And there's the encouraging sign for fans of INEOS Team UK, up and falling. So for them, now it is race on.
Your pitch, Lee.
Yep.
Let's go back to the start, shall we? They picked up a penalty for crossing the line early.
Yeah, they're just over the imaginary line. If you extend that green line all the way up to the top of your screen, that's the starting line. So So technically they were over the line early, but it's really no harm, no foul. That really had nothing to do with what they're influencing them in the starting line maneuvers. They just needed to get on the foils at all costs. And hey, there's a good sign. There's a good sign. They actually got a tack in, stayed on the foils, and off they go.
Just picked up a boundary penalty. It was INEOS Team UK, but as we see it right now with Rossa Prada Pirelli high up to the top, left top of your screen, it's not going to matter too much.
Take your mind back to the other lightweight races that we have watched. You know, one boat has often been quite far ahead, fallen off the foils, and it's been a massive restart. This race is only just beginning.
Should we just keep a little fast again?
Yes.
Nathan, as we look up to the top of the race course, the left side of our screen, is it still lighter towards the top, or is it starting to even out a bit?
Yeah, Kenny, it looks like from here the breeze is starting to come in from the top of the course, particularly on the left-hand side. You see Luna Rossa didn't really want to go at all over to that right-hand side of the course. They're protecting the left-hand side of the course. They've made some really nice tacks, and I think this breeze is slowly coming in. By no means is it going to be windy enough to assume that they're going to foil the whole way around, but it is starting to build slowly.
If you are joining us right now for the opening race of the Prada Cup Finals 2021, this is a 6-leg race. That we could call that 3 laps. Up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down. Let's go on to the water with chase by one Anderson ratio. Can you believe what you saw at the start, Anderson?
Oh, it was a bit different than the dogfight we were all expecting, but watching Luna Rossa come off and sort of glide while INEOS got stuck in the water there really shows the advantage of that hull shape. And they just have been putting on a masterclass out there with these lead air tacks, lifting the boat really high, giving themselves lots of margin, and keeping her flying.
You actually see a little bit of pressure out on the water right now, Anderson. Maybe a few even tiny little white caps that we haven't seen before. Do you agree with Nathan? A little more breeze starting to pump in from the top of the course?
Yeah, definitely a little bit more breeze pumping in from the left-hand side. Looks a little bit like a righty comparatively to what INEOS just tacked in over here.
Two boats coming up there. 55 then, 25s.
You listen on board, it's still calm, cool, and collected. You know, there's no panic, and exactly what you said, Shirley. This is a one and done, one moment of the Italians coming off their foils, and this race becomes brand new. So this is these are definitely nervous moments for both boats at this stage, and especially their fans.
Why would you be excited about watching AC-75s with a shot like that? Foiling 75-footers is magnificent. You talk about brand new. That's what Max Serena has called Luna Rossa with all the updates. It's a brand new boat.
Copy that.
Coming into the top gate for the first time, and it will be Luna Rossa Prada Pirelli with a 560-odd metre lead on INEOS Team UK. It was a lot further away than that moments ago. So, as Shirley quite rightly said, it's not over as we get the first rounding of the mark, and it's Luna Rossa Prada Pirelli, the first head downward in race 1.
Interestingly, flying higher than we've seen in the past around that mark, whether that's a slight little misstep or actually on purpose. It'll be interesting to see as this plays out if this is a new game plan for these guys.
He's a righty, but more pressure this way.
Hold down. Hang on it. Turning. Should we on 21s by Will? 21s. Okay, here we go.
Boy, they're just staying out of the water, aren't they? 21. You said 20. I think you're exactly right. 20 knots is kind of that make or break moment, whether it splashes down or not. 21s, that is right on the edge.
INEOS Team UK now approaching the top gate for the first time. You can understand that margin has blown out quite simply because of getting off the foils at the start, but they will finally make the top gate, head towards the right-hand mark and round it and start the chase. Remember, 6 legs. We haven't completed the 1 yet. This is halfway through the first leg. And around go INEOS Team UK. 1 minute and 20 behind Luna Rossa.
It's a little band just here where we are. So yeah, happy.
Communication on board INEOS.
As soon as you think we're losing it, happy inside here.
We're on the same jibe.
he's got
bring down pressure, yeah.
Well, Stephen, Nathan was absolutely right. At the bottom of the course now, we have consistently 10 to 11 knots. So, you know, a big jump, a much safer wind speed than we saw right at the beginning.
For sure, the Italians right now are just thinking, come on, breeze, right? Just like 1 or 2 more knots of wind speed, and consistently staying on the foils becomes a much higher percentage of time, much easier. And that's all they want right now. They don't care if they gain another meter. They just want to stay on the foils.
My wheel. Game board. Get my pitch. 27s. Building here. More breeze coming in 10. Yeah, should build here.
You can hear the voice of Ben Ainsley and Giles Scott talking about more breeze coming. Let's go over to Heli 2, see if they're right about seeing more breeze. Nathan Alleridge, can you see more breeze?
Yeah, definitely from up here looks like it's starting to fill in and be a bit more stable across the course. The other thing that I can see from the helicopter, which I haven't been able to see until today, is the difference in these sails. Luna Rossa definitely look like they're running a deeper sail setup. You can really see that when you're above them and looking down, whereas INEOS seem to be running a flatter, bit more static setup, and I think that's giving Luna Rossa an advantage of being able to generate a bit more power in this lighter wind.
Little soft patch for 5.
Yeah, no problem.
How's pressure look to this boundary? Yeah, it looks alright. It's just building again. Yeah, copy.
One and in left, and then we decide if to go early.
Yeah.
Yep.
Or to
Pressure
go
looks
to
increasing on this side. A bit of
Really good pressure. Francesco Bruni, one and in left, Shirley. These are code phrases for those of you who are joining this early. Joining us late, I mean, in the piece following the America's Cup and the Prada Cup, all kinds of little phrases they have out here and how they describe briefly, quickly their maneuvers.
Also, this team has a twin helmsman set up. On one side, Francesco Bruni, and on the starboard side, it is Jimmy Spittle, sharing that role and sharing flying the boat. When they're not steering, they're flying.
Luna Rossa Prada Pirelli now about to complete the first leg of second leg of 6 in this opening race of the Prada Cup, and around the left-hand mark they go at the bottom gate for the first time. So 2 legs done, 4 to go for Luna Rossa Prada Pirelli.
very strong on the left. We are on a lefty.
Yeah, we're gonna go early here, guys.
Really in control on the boat. I mean, it's easier. We've said this a million times. It's easier to be in control when you're not under pressure, and clearly they're not under pressure right now. They're just not trying to make the big mistake.
Enter.
Boundary penalty being given to INEOS.
Cruel.
Wow.
A cruel boundary penalty. Well, the fact is that it's done by machine. It is not done. It is not done by man here. So there is no speculation there. They actually came off their foils there briefly for a second as well.
Starting to look better and more even across the course now.
The water with Anderson Reggio, American Magic's testing manager. What are you seeing on the water right now, Anderson?
It was pretty interesting watching INEOS try to throw that jibe in when they were close to the boundary there. They had a pretty bad jibe and fell off their foils. Took them quite a long time to get rolling again. It's definitely pretty puffy and shifty now, and breeze looks to be building up the track.
Okay, going forward.
INEOS Team UK about to complete the second leg of this opening race in the Prada Cup Finals 2021. The lead is blown out somewhat, falling off the fours. It's not going to help. It was at 1 minute and 20 seconds at the top mark. And now it's going to be a little bit more. But around they will go. 1 minute and 30 seconds in deficit to Luna Rossa Prada Pirelli. Crazy old day.
Okay, so Shirley, small sample size here, but you know, we talked a little bit about this race and the light air. Can we kind of officially say now that maybe at the bottom end of the range, INEOS is a bit vulnerable? I mean, no question, this is not pre-Christmas. This is not the Christmas event of which they just struggled, period. but are we leaning towards maybe if it was a super light air day, we can say Prada has the advantage?
I mean, we were expecting gains. This boat has been in the shed for much of the last 3 weeks, having upgrades. I think we were expecting some light wind gains, and I'm not sure we're saying that. But on the other hand, Luna Rossa's always looked good in these conditions, and they've made upgrades. And when you look at Luna Rossa, she just seems a little bit slippier. She seems to be able to escape those real trouble moments.
So, Anderson, as we look at the foils on these boats for a moment, we talked a lot with you about size of foils. Can you confirm that the size of the foils on both of these boats are pretty darn similar? And on the large side, the fleet of 4 on the larger side within the fleet.
Yeah, that's exactly right, Kenny. These two boats here have foils that are pretty similar in size and comparatively to what we had with American Magic and what you see now on Emirates Team New Zealand. These are much, much larger by the range of 20+%.
20+% amongst friends. So this shows how interesting a brand new class is. That's a huge variation, 20% in size. As these boats evolve over generations of boats, that'll get tinier and tinier until like 1 or 2% becomes a big deal. Not 20. 20 is massive.
1,105 meters and counting, the distance between Luna Rossa and Rita Britannia. In this opening race, they're on leg number 3, upwind. INEOS has already suffered a couple of penalties. The start not perfect. It's not what we were expecting, because we were amped and ready for, as we've kept saying all along, elbows out, 2 helms or 3 helms and going at it. But Mother Nature decided differently.
It will come. I have watched Ben Ainsley in lots of situations, and so often he starts poorly. You know, there's often an OCS or something happens in the first race, and then he gets going, and more than often he wins. So expect elbows out as this carries on.
Yes, it's the best of 13 race series. The first to win 7 races earns the right to challenge Emirates Team New Zealand in the match. That's a long way off. We've got a lot of race days over the next 10.
For the run.
Yep. Easy. Nice pressure here.
Luna Rossa, Prada Pirelli heading towards the top gate for the second time. The advantage has blown out. That's what you're going to get, and we've talked a lot about making one mistake, having things work against you, such as the speed of these boats. Luna Rossa, Prada Pirelli around the top gate for the second time. And the one thing that we've talked about a lot and have noticed, and it's carrying on, the smoothness of them doing their work, but also the communication on board.
There is no question about it that they have had a breakthrough on their communication, but we say again, I repeat, they have not been really under pressure yet. Cheryl, in those 4 races against American Magic, I wouldn't say they were ever really in some serious heat. So we still haven't quite seen this new combination, this new communication get pushed hard yet.
No, I agree, and I have some doubts about, you know, there isn't one person in charge. To me, it called me old-fashioned, but I haven't really seen that working to full effect. But for sure, the last time that they raced INEOS, when they got beaten, there was 9 crosses. That was a wake-up call, and in many ways they went back to baseline. You know, how are we going to do this? The way we're doing it isn't really working. And we have seen Prada get better and better since then.
One thing that's interesting here is that it seems that INEOS really is turning the boat more aggressively, tacking and jiving. We actually heard Spithill at one stage say, nice slow turn here, boys. They spend more time with both boards in the water, and they've really slowed down their turns in order to try to keep it up in the foils and just take away any chance of falling in.
INEOS Team UK approaching the top gate. Let's listen in on the comms, because it is fascinating as they go around, because they've got a lot of work to do. But remember, it's just race number 1.
Breeze is back to mean here.
Okay, 2, 1.
Clear away.
Coming away.
Okay, easy.
INEOS surrounding the top gate for the second time. 1 minute and 54 seconds behind Luna Rossa Prada Pirelli. It's a long way to go, but as you can tell just by the calmness in the voice of Sir Ben Ainsley, it is what it is. Keep doing your job, and away we go.
Remember, this is the GOAT, right? This is the greatest of all time in Olympic world. And like Shirley was saying, actually, there were a few members of our British community here in TV land talking about he always starts slow. He no matter what, right? It's really incredible. You guys are laughing about it. I had never heard these stories before, but he just always starts slow.
There's always some drama early on, and then he gets it on. He gets his roll on after that.
But let's be blunt. You don't want to have a slow start in the America's Cup or the Prada Cup, do you? You want to be on point from the get-go.
You call this jive, eh?
Yeah. I think trust the software.
Yeah, copy. Great pressure here.
Just put 1 second more. Just one.
It's actually square gate at the moment.
Stephen, there's been much in the sailing press this week about this head-to-head beauty versus the beast, which is a little bit harsh, but you have to say, I mean, look at Luna Rossa now in light winds.
Come on, Shirley, that's a beautiful boat.
Everything just looks right.
Luna Rossa Prada Pirelli at the bottom gate to complete the fourth leg. 2 to go. And this opening race of the Prada Cup final says, remember, you win 7, you go to the big show, the match against Emirates Team New Zealand.
Chip lead all the way up, obviously.
With Varil here. In direction 30.
8 knots of breeze, 38 knots of wind speed, or boat speed, sorry. It's just still, it's unheard of. It's incredible. It's just incredible. Now, as I was saying, they do slow turns. They rip through one and make me look bad. I think they did. Nathan, they just think there's a little more breeze out there right now, right? It just seems like a little more comfortable for these guys.
Yeah, Ken, it's definitely, the breeze is definitely building, and you know, if you look further up the course, there's a cloud line that's starting to lift, and that's allowing the air to start to push in. So this sea breeze is slowly building. On that last lap, it was a bit shifty, and there was a few shifts, and Luna Rossa were in phase, and INEOS looked to be a little bit out of phase, but for sure, breeze is building, and to comment on the turning, it's really obvious when you're sitting above the boats, the turn rate, and it seems like Luna Rossa were turning it a little bit smoother in the lighter winds, but that tack they just did before, they've whipped it quite quickly because I guess there's a bit more breeze. They can transfer the load between the foils so much easier, but man, they're sailing away with this one, aren't they? They're not slowing down at all.
Can we extend all the way to boundary out of this left turn?
Yep.
INEOS Team UK, that's the first time I think I've seen them crack 40 knots, but that's a good sign because Rita looks beautiful when she is flying, and it's such a solid looking boat as INEOS Team UK. They finally get to the bottom gate for the last time, basically. Will be the finish, and they're 1 minute 56 seconds, 57 seconds in the deficit.
They're thinking about the next race right now, right? I mean, that's this race. They're pretty comfortable in their thinking, and it's not defeatist. They're comfortable in thinking, okay, this one didn't go our way. Let's start thinking about race 2. The good news is, talk about elbows out and a little bit of a slugfest. Breeze coming on, we may not see that flukiness, that those touchdown problems in the pre-start, and have ourselves a closer race. So for those of you who are up early in Europe or staying up late in the States or wherever you are in the world, stay tuned. There's another one coming, and the next one hopefully proves to be a little bit better.
Pressure coming in 5.
On average, always more pressure left. But still not enough of a reason to do one extra attack, I think.
Yeah,
straight one and in left.
I think we're going to have to check that heart rate meter, Shirley, because he's talking awful cool and calm and collected for somebody whose heart was about to explode on that meter.
Beautiful shots coming from our second helicopter where Nathan Allard is parked. Makes a pretty sight, doesn't it? What do you like about what you're seeing from Luna Rossa at the moment?
Well, Luna Rossa, to me, they just look really polished. That start, I have to keep going back to the start. That's what set up the race. They had the luxury of only having to do one manoeuvre in the pre-start, but it was a very good manoeuvre. And from there, they've just been keeping it simple, sailing smoothly, and very impressive. I must say, very impressive Luna Rossa today.
Both of them on their J1s, which is their biggest jibs, their light air jibs, and we'll probably notice pretty quickly whether the breeze is coming up in between races, because they'll shift down right away. They'll get rid of these right away and start looking smaller and smaller as quick as they can. Less drag, more efficient, higher boat speeds.
Onto the water quickly with Anderson Reggio. Anderson, before we get to the top mark for the last time for Luna Rossa, have we seen a vulnerability in INEOS in these wins now? Can we confirm that? We're having that discussion.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely, it's the name of the game. You fall off the foils and the loss becomes huge really, really quickly. And they had a couple mistakes early in the race. And then it meant that they sort of had to try to sail their own race and ended up a bit out of phase relative to some of the shifts. And it just sent them back further here.
Luna Rossa Prada Pirelli approaching the top gate for the last time in this opening encounter of the Prada Cup finals in 2021. And around she goes and heads home. You got to say, it is an awfully quiet boat.
I've lost him. Well, it's just the same old thing, right? Every time we just hold out to listen to their conversation. Of course, they don't say anything. It's just it's uncanny how that happens.
3, 2, 1. Just a little lighter out of this.
There's nothing clear and obvious, though, is there, Shirley? And even Anderson out on the water, nothing real obvious on these boats that's a big game changer that they've changed in the last couple weeks. So these bits and pieces, like everybody, like all of us have thought about, these bits and pieces are small now. They're small. We're not seeing big changes to the boats.
Yeah, that's exactly right, Kenny. The steps here are small, and it's all about just being more consistent. You can see Luna Rossa now more consistent than I've ever seen them in their maneuvers.
That's okay. Set up, let's cross on the box then. Ready? 2, 1, 4 down.
We're in marginal gains territory, Stephen. And I would say with Luna Rossa that in the past, some of the manoeuvres have been a bit loose. But, you know, here you can't do anything out in the water without everybody seeing it. And we have seen them practicing manoeuvres, you know, over and over again, and that, especially the harder ones. And today, I think we're seeing the fruit of that.
Pressure will build out of this one.
Surely sometimes practice makes perfect, but Mother Nature doesn't play that game. Mother Nature will decide whether you can make those practice moves pay off. As INEOS Team UK coming to the top gate for the final time.
2, 1.
They will take this one on the chin and round the top gate. On the left-hand mark, 2 minutes and 3 seconds behind Luna Rossa Prada Pirelli.
Okay, to the 5.
The incredible thing, though, Shirley, is these guys don't look bad right now, right? I mean, as we go along through this process, through the Prada Challenger finals and into the Cup, they just get better and better and better. Whereas, you know, we would have seen major issues in the past with a boat behind this far. But really, they made 2 little mistakes and it was game over.
We have a lot less to say than we did a month ago. And, you know, we have to remember these boats are brand new. And not only are they improving the hardware constantly, but also the way that they're sailing it. We're all learning here.
Starting to get the pressure.
Can you imagine the confidence rising with Jimmy Spittle right now?
Yeah, but he's used to it. Honestly, they know how long a series it is. None of these guys are rookies. They're all seasoned vets. I mean, I honestly think this is one race at a time category. It's really nothing other than that, don't you think?
Yeah, I agree. And they know that essentially that race was won and lost in the pre-start. You know, one mistake by INEOS and it was game over.
You just heard Jimmy Spittle say, yeah, this is good, mate. Yes, it is good. for Luna Rossa in the opening encounter of the Prada Cup Final 2021. Luna Rossa takes first blood against INEOS Team UK.
First time INEOS has lost a race this year.
A little further this way. Okay, board's going down.
Well, let's make the most of that in the sense that, you know, we talk this game of the America's Cup being a psychological game. They have taken now a good right hook to the jaw, INEOS Team UK, and we know Jimmy likes to box, so he'll be happy with that one.
And he goes down, but you came up too much. Came up too much.
Never in doubt, mate.
18 knots boat speed for 30 seconds.
So they're talking about in their pre-start when they were dangerously close to, or they were down for a second, they just happened to have a little better angle, right? That 90-degree wind angle that pops the boats out of the water. That happened to be their angle back to the start, whereas INEOS caught themselves above the line and had really struggled to get it going.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, we heard Keiko say there, you know, we were down at 18 knots for 30 seconds. Anything below 20, it's the danger zone.
But just to reiterate, yes, 2 mistakes have hurt INEOS Team UK, but you look at the way they're sailing this boat, get it right, this is not going to be a 2-minute-plus affair anymore. It's going to be much, much tighter.
This next race is a real race. You can see the little white caps, the sheep in the paddock, or whatever they call it down here.
White caps.
I'm trying to be Kiwi. I'm trying to be a Kiwi for a second.
INEOS Team UK completes the opening stoush of the Prada Cup Final Series on the waters of the Waramata Harbour. And it's a 1-minute and 52-second win to Luna Rossa Prada Pirelli. But guess what? There's another one still to come. But psychological tick in the box number 1 goes to Luna Rossa Prada Pirelli.
Just reaching a little bit here. Copy. It's course. Your wheel. My wheel.
Confirmation of the opening race in the Prada Cup Finalist Series 2021. Luna Rossa Prada Pirelli with the win by 1 minute and 52 seconds.
So this race was kind of over before it started, unfortunately. This is where INEOS got off their foils in 12 knots, struggling like crazy. But we were calling these guys. It's like, uh-oh, they're both off the foils. Are they going to dial them up? Are they going to go after them? They chose to stay down, Shirley, stay at that 90-degree true wind angle and pop the boat back up on the water. So actually not being over-aggressive. Good for them to not go for the kill, but in essence, create the kill. Off the starting line here, and again, they didn't even push to get to the line. They were just making sure, I think you said it, just make sure you stay on the foils.
We saw them sailing, you know, flying higher, I think, than before. That was the big risk for this race, and they did all they could to avoid it.
And at this stage, the game was kind of over. Right? It wasn't a huge lead. We were calling this a 1 splashdown lead, right? But they just look so comfortable. They look so smooth. Setup looks good. Like Nathan called, they have the ability really to power up, to add a lot of camber to that mainsail. Gets themselves out of trouble sometimes if you're about to fall off the foils. That ability to very quickly load up the sail plan and just like, this is Steven's favorite boat. This is like his wedding vow. You love Prada. You love how it looks. And
it is a beautiful boat.
Maybe when you look good, you sail fast. Is that what you're trying to say here?
Well, they sometimes say image helps. But it has been an impressive first outing, but it might have been a different story. On equal footing and no one falling off their foils.
Last run, again, this really efficient, smooth sail plan. Just look good. There's really nothing else to say here right now. Cheryl, they just They just dominated that race.
Not a massive amount of celebrating as they cross the line. I mean, they know that was one mistake from INEOS that they capitalized on, and this next race is going to be a different battle.
Let us go on board. Luna Rossa Prada Pirelli talk to Francesco Bruni. Francesco, congratulations. One done. The smiles say it all.
Yeah, we are very happy, obviously. One is done. And yeah, the next one will be a very different race, I think. The wind is increasing, and it's not just about staying on the faults, but it will be a different race for sure.
Hey, Francesco, great job. Congratulations. In that pre-start,
thank you,
obviously INEOS came off their foils a little early, but man, you guys had a scary moment there too, didn't you?
Yeah, we had a very scary moment. Everybody screamed to Jimmy, don't come up, don't come up. He was trying to kill a little bit of time, and we made it just in time. We pressed again. The boys did a fantastic job on repowering the sails. It's a split-second moment, and you can be down and can be a very different story.
Just quickly, Francesco, just looking ahead to this race, I mean, different conditions now. You know, what are we likely to see, and what are you changing on board?
I won't tell you what we're changing on board. Now we are definitely changing the jib. This jib is probably too big now. We definitely need a smaller jib. I don't know which one yet, but wait and see. And yeah, I mean, it's going to be different. Now it's going to be a pure sea breeze, like 12, 13 knots probably, mature, not as fluffy as it was before. And I think it's not going to be as shifty probably as well. So probably boundary to boundary, where we have to see, we have to check. They're changing the course as we speak. They're moving the course more to the right.
Francesco, congratulations. Talk to you later. Another race coming up.
Thank you, guys.
Let's
Forza,
go.
Forza,
let
Forza.
us. Yes, Forza. Let us go on board INEOS Team UK and talk to Subeneza. You have to take that one on the chin, but the conditions looking a lot better, Ben.
Yeah, it's one of those days. Sea breeze building. It's looking nicer. It was nice the second half of that race, and yeah, it should be good for this next race.
So Ben, I'm sitting here in our commentator's booth next to your old Olympic teammate Shirley Robertson, who says you notoriously start out slow. Is that correct? Can you confirm? Do you confirm or deny that report from young Shirley?
I don't know about that, but we were definitely slow in that race. You know, one boat could get off the foil and one couldn't, and that was the story. But yeah, it is what it is. We just got to do the best we can in the conditions and keep pushing.
Ben, it's a different day now, isn't it? I mean, a whole different race. What are we going to see here?
Yeah, hopefully we see a much closer race. That's what we're all here for, both as sailors and as the fans and spectators. I think we should. The breeze looks good, doesn't it? Looks solid now. And hopefully we much more of a match for the Italians and get stuck in and have a good race.
Thanks, Ben, for your time. Go hunting in race 2. So Subeneza on INEOS Team UK. Hard not to think he's just taken one to the chin, and that's hurt him a little bit just in his body language. But let's just look at the numbers from race 1, Kenny, and confirming a 1 minute and 52-second win to Luna Rossa Prada Pirelli.
Yeah, well, you look at let's go down to distance sailed, almost dead even on distance sailed. So that means the speeds had to be different. And sure enough, upwind boat speed dominant for the Italians. That's really an interesting number. The downwind speeds were almost the same, but the upwind speed, Shirley, that's a big difference.
That is massive. Everything else, it's a match, isn't it? It is a match.
And that's them being off the foils a couple times, so that's probably what makes up for the speed, for that big speed difference.
Let's take a look at the race efficiency just to further corroborate what you have seen over the last 20-odd minutes.
Go all the way to the left, and that's all you got to see is those big gaps, and that's coming off the foils early in the race, and that's really what did it. That's what did them in. The rest of the race looks reasonably similar. There's no huge mistakes, no huge big gaps, but off to the left side, those are the big speed gaps when one boat is on the foils and the other boats off the foils.
Key moment from race 1 of the Prada Cup 2021 has got to be in the pre-start.
Very clearly, and these guys almost screwed it up too. I mean, they came back, they dropped down less than 20 knots, like Shirley kept saying. That 20 knot barrier is the barrier you have to stay above. And look at them, oh no, you could kind of feel and hear the stress in the boat, but they had that really good wind angle back to the line and made it work.
They kept it simple and they sailed their own race.
So it's one and done for Luna Rossa Prada Pirelli, but guess what? Another race not too far away. In the World Series, INEOS Team UK couldn't buy a win. Actually, they struggled to even finish a race, but what a difference time can make. A clean sweep in the round robin series fast-tracked them into this Prada Cup final. The turnaround has been monumental.
Yeah, it's been a fascinating period because this is a 3-4 year campaign. But actually it feels like in the last month, things have really started to heat up. And we had a really tough start to this competition.
Splashdown by INEOS Team UK.
It's painful, isn't it, watching INEOS? I mean, something's just not right.
The team had to dig deep in a big way. And turning that around, the momentum that comes from that is really powerful.
INEOS Team UK, they couldn't buy a win in the World Series, and they have come out and annihilated one of the favourites, American Magic.
I think we were all really proud of how the team turned things around from a really horrible situation. And that's, every person in the team played their part in that. It really was a team effort, and that's great to see the reward for that.
This team has worked night and day to get this performance.
Nobody saw this was coming except for maybe the British, and I'm not even so sure they did.
We would love it if we could make a similar game that we made between the World Series and the round robins. I don't think that's realistic. We've been quite open. We had some fundamental issues going on there that we managed to get on top of.
There is changes to these boats every single day.
Now it's about, you talk about marginal gains in sport. We're in that area of, okay, if you can make it 0.5% here, 0.5% there, you get 5 or 6 of those and suddenly you're into 2-3% gain in performance, which at this level, at this stage in the cycle is huge. We know the opposition are doing exactly the same thing, and I'm sure we'll have made gains too. The trick for us is to try and make more gains.
Smooth as silk today for the Italians. Luna Rossa Prada Pirelli are in the box seat.
They don't really have a weak spot, I don't think. So to beat them, you're going to have to sail incredibly well.
We've got a lot of work to do. The British have also been out there working hard. We've been fortunate enough to, to be racing. I actually think it was an advantage going through this series because we're a lot stronger for it.
Nice one. Now INEOS, boys.
I think any team that went through the repechage round, of course, is going to put a spin on it, that that's a positive. Of course you're going to do that. We've been very strong from the outset that we wanted the direct route to the final. That was our preference. We got that. We're happy with it. Time will tell whether we've been able to make enough of the extra period and the gains that we've been looking for.
Magnificent spectator fleet on the Hauraki Gulf for the opening day of the Prada Cup finals. Does it get any better? So now we await the setup for race number 2 in the Prada Cup finals for 2021. If you are joining us wherever you are around the world, it has been a 1 minute and 52-second victory to Rossa Prada Pirelli in light air, but it's changing. It's going to be a lot closer, we know. Jibs are being changed for heavier air, and we're under 15 minutes away from race start. How good is that? What a view on the water to watch this Prada Cup final series in 2021 on the Waitemata Harbour. As every sports fan knows, being the underdog is not necessarily a bad thing. It's a powerful motivational weapon. Rossa Prada Pirelli know that and have been quick to claim the title. But to be honest, it's theirs by right. They failed to beat INEOS Team UK in the round robin series and have had to fight their way into the final. But the fight has also left them match fit.
They're coming up for spin. Pressure in front, I see. The next 30.
Still trying to build here a bit?
Yeah. When you race, you always want to win. So losing the round robin with against INEOS, of course, was not the best for us.
INEOS Team UK cross the line.
All right, guys, calm down.
They go through to the Prada Cup final.
Looking right now what happened after, so the racing on the semi-final with Americans, I think that was super important for us to do that.
Rossa Prada Pirelli have just guaranteed themselves a spot in the Prada Cup final. It's done.
Before the semi-final, we changed a lot of things. Of course, small and big things. Said we improved the speed of the boat in all the conditions. And right now we are happy because we think our boat is performing well all around the range. And so I think we look forward to great racing in the final. We worked a lot on the strategic and tactic side, and my role has been a little bit more into it. What I do now is, of course, first main trimming and looking at the performance of the boat, but also trying to give Keiko and Jimmy what they need to take the decision.
I think better pressure this side here now.
Painting a little bit the picture of the race course, where is the pressure, if we are in phase or not, or also what they think about the position of the other boat, and so we can start talking, and the decision comes easily, you know.
Pressure everywhere here.
America's Cup is always about speed, but not only. We have seen that racing can be very close. A couple of meters made a difference in the round robin, and was not only about the speed of the boat, was also about managing the race. And so maneuvering, short maneuvering, close, mark roundings, all this stuff will make the difference when the boats are close, so we worked also on that a lot. For sure, INEOS is a strong team. We all know, especially Ben, and then also Giles. They are great sailors. They know that they have to fight for every meter on the racetrack, and will be tough to beat them. But I think that when they think about Rossa, they feel the same. We will not give up any meter, and maybe the last cross of the round robin will be the opposite way next time.
Down.
Perfect positions to watch race number 2 of the Prada Cup. Kenny Reid, just briefly, what are both camps thinking about going to race 2?
Oh, it's like a sporting event. You're going in at halftime, you go in and you freshen up and you come out. It's a completely different scenario. It's like a completely different win scenario, which means this is going to be a completely different race. Look for elbows out. Look for a little bit of more of a punch and jab in that pre-start. It's going to be, this is going to be totally different. It's a different race course, different everything.
And to win the Prada Cup and the America's Cup, you've got to have the fastest boat. You also have to be able to work the angles and get from point A to point B in the quickest possible time. That's where VMG comes in. Velocity made good. You've probably heard us use the term. Here's Nathan Outteridge with a 101 on what it really means.
Okay, go full speed here. BMGs. Pressure out this way. Still left shift, so I'm happy here. Okay, BMG here, Blitz. Okay, BMG on the wind, nice. That's good.
With the boats of this America's Cup firing around the racecourse of the Waitemata Harbour, touching speeds of 50 knots, one of the crucial things to racing is a principle that we all know in sailing as VMG. VMG, or velocity made good, is a pretty simple concept that applies when racing upwind or downwind. In a racing scenario, it's an important number. A good VMG will get you where you need to be, having travelled the shortest distance at the highest speed, which critically means you have done it in the quickest time possible. But the best place to illustrate this is out on the water. I'm sailing upwind here at a speed of around 16 knots at 45 degrees to the wind. I know my moth's set up pretty well. It's good VMG. If I wanted more speed, I'd head down a little bit. I'd bear away as we see here. My actual speed increases, but look at my VMG, it's decreasing. I'm travelling faster over the water, but I'm now heading further away from our target point, our upwind race mark. Let's now see what happens if I head upwind. We start off on optimum VMG, but if I head higher, pointing the boat closer to the upwind mark, I'm shortening our course, but I'm losing boat speed. I'm now too much into the wind and my VMG is dropping. I'm sailing a shorter distance, but I'm doing it at a lower speed. If we take a look at this alternate angle, sailing on this heading to our race mark, I'm on optimal VMG. I'm combining the shortest distance with the maximum speed. But now I bear away, I speed up. I'm no longer at optimum VMG because I'm sailing a longer distance to the mark. I'm faster, but in the wrong direction. And it's the same if I head too far into the wind. I leave my optimum VMG. I may be shortening the distance to our upwind mark, but I'm losing speed and my VMG is decreasing. I'm sailing too slow to be competitive. So that's the principle of VMG, and in this America's Cup, it's super important. These AC75s are incredibly efficient. They sail incredibly fast for a given wind speed, but sailing too fast in the wrong direction and you're doing yourself no favours. These AC75s are really aerodynamic. On board, travelling at about 50 knots, reading the actual wind is a big ask. But they're also packed full of technology, allowing the sailors to accurately seek their optimum VMG. So in fast foiling boats like these, sailing the shortest distance at the highest speed, that's what's going to win the races.
So here we are, time to go racing again, and that looks a lot more encouraging. Let's just update the teams and see what is going on. This is INEOS Team UK.
So INEOS Team UK had a bit of a punch to the gut in race one, a 152 loss after struggling in the light air to get on the foils in the pre-start. But don't be fooled, a quick building sea breeze is going to create a very different scenario for both teams. 3 fresh grinders on board, and don't worry about the focus of Ainsley and Scott, who between them have 6 Olympic medals. Now they're just trying to finish the day 1-1.
And then we go on board Luna Rossa Prada Pirelli. Can they make it 2-0?
Well, they have a solid grinding team, solid technical setup, and a really experienced coaching setup. But all the talk about this team has been the afterguard. Spittel, Bruni and Cerbello. 2 Italians, 1 Australian, all speaking in English. We've still not really seen them under real tactical pressure, but they're making good decisions, and the results are clear to see in a smooth, well-driven boat.
So it's on. Race 2 on port entry. INEOS Team UK on starboard. Winners of race 1, Rossa Prada Pirelli, and the wind is up. And guess who's forwarding right now? INEOS Team UK, and surely they will be loving that feeling right now.
Stephen, it is getting windier and windier, between 14 and 16 knots on the race box. They are going to be loving this.
This is real sea breeze. You know, this is that real nice, dense sea breeze that's come in off the ocean. Should be really not very shifty. It should be just like a flat-out boat speed contest. Hopefully we see a little hand-to-hand combat.
Let's get onto the water ahead of this race with Anderson Reggio. Anderson, what he can see, and what feeling do you have about this race?
Oh, I'm looking up the track right now. There's a great build in the pressure upwind of us here. I'd almost be a little concerned I might have the wrong jib on if I was INEOS. Looks like they've stepped down on the size of jib, but not as far as Rossa. Rossa with a smaller head sole, which might make a bit of a difference as this pressure increases.
Let's head up into the sky and in heli to Nathan Alleridge. Nathan, what are you seeing and what are you looking forward to?
This is the race committee. The
Well, I can see
period is complete and this race is live.
There you go. I can see that the breeze is definitely windier. I can see white caps all over the race course. It looks like it's going to be a speed race to me. I don't see many shifts from up here. It looks pretty uniform. And I'm interested to know if, like what Anderson was saying with the jib sizes, Rossa from up here look like they've got a much smaller jib on. So once again, they could be in better range with their setup. But I honestly think there's going to be some fireworks in this pre-start. There's enough wind to foil without any issues, boats not needing to be towed up at all. And I think we're going to have a ripper of a start here.
So from a current standpoint, Nathan, you were talking about it before the racing started. Is there any real advantage to one side of the race course? I know it's flowing in a little harder on the right side. You think that really makes a difference right now?
I honestly think, Kenny, right now the current's pretty uniform across the course. I can't pick any differences up here at all. Before, when it was lighter winds, the current made more of a difference, but now we've got 15 knots of breeze. I think these guys won't be thinking about current. It'll be more about just going boundary to boundary, like what Bruni said in his interview.
Thanks, Nathan. Nathan Alleridge, high in the sky and heli 2 this afternoon, and Anderson Reggio on the water. Shirley Robinson, I know we talked about excitement and tension in race 1. I just think it's ramped up a little bit more because the conditions have changed.
Out there and in the commentary box, I mean, we are getting excited. This is the perfect conditions for racing. It's all on.
Big difference in jibs, though. Everybody's picked it up. It is a big size difference in jibs.
INEOS Team UK have port entry allowed in 2 minutes and 10 seconds. It's gone past that, but they are rocketing into the pre-start. And now we might see what we've been waiting for. Elbows out. You can see Rossa Prada Pirelli now in on the 2-minute mark, and in they come. So wait, watch, and listen, because this is going to get good.
Geometry, time and distance, or hand-to-hand battle. That's you pick it up pretty early on in the sequence. It depends on where all these guys are going to go. Do they throw some different looks that we haven't even seen yet?
Following. Keep coming up, boys.
Time away here.
Going board up in 2. 1, board up.
There's that high box move to the right, Shirley. It's going to be a jibe, most likely, by INEOS next time. They're trying to do a real kind of big loop, a big time and distance. It's going to be up to Prada to decide whether they go back before them or after them.
Okay, he turns. He's staying high. He's going to get on our hammer here. Okay. 14 boundary, killing 40. He now turns down, Ben.
Okay, board down.
Crossing. Eyeball him behind the main.
Okay, he's early. Stand by jibe.
He's early. That means they'll probably go behind. That means they're going to go behind and push.
Okay, 2 boards up. Killing 20.
Yeah.
2.
Lay line is 10. Killing 15. Killing 7 to the pin.
Okay, up hard.
There's a gap off there. They're trying to start well together, hoping that INEOS is early.
Yeah, he's going slow.
Clear. My pitch, your pitch. He looks to push, Ben.
Okay, copy. Trimming up.
Big trim up.
Big trim up. Spithill says he's going for the hook, but again, I think that's a play. I saw no way he's going to get a hook from this position, Shirley. They're looking to gap off.
We've seen how powerful it is to stop the wind with the gap. And you get to the boundary really in a great spot.
Charge
coming up.
Charge.
Okay, it's charging battery.
That's good. Now over.
Coming down. Down a touch.
5,
Is this
4,
enough of a gap?
3, 2, big wave, 1.
Race 2 is a go in the Prada Cup Final Series 2021. What a start.
A little more juice in that pre-start, Shirley, but this is the exciting time for me. That first cross, the boundary coming up. Who gets that first cross when they do tack over onto port next time?
We have to bail out here pretty soon.
Prada falling down into INEOS. We just heard Francesco Bruni saying, we can't live here for long, we're going to have to get out.
3, 2, 1. Stand by to the left here.
Copy. 2, auto 1.
Nice.
Nice, going. Building speed.
Yep. Good pressure here.
My right, my trap.
I think we get all the way to boundary, Ben.
Yeah, copy.
Okay.
Yep.
Giles Scott says let's go all the way to boundary. We're going to have our first good split here, Nathan. Any side of the race course that you like more than the other?
Set up, let's.
If I had to put any money on it, I'd say the left-hand side of the course looks a little bit windier than the right-hand side of the course. So this is going to be really interesting when they come back together. That was such a tight start. And it's all about this. INEOS, I think, have better pressure, but Luna Rossa are going to come back on starboard tack.
Which is much left, I think.
Watch these boat speeds for a minute. This is real boat speed weather. You know, not that shifty tactician weather that we see in some of the race courses around here. This is flat out boat speed weather right now, and Italians do not look slow.
Stand by in 3, 2, 1, 4 down, 30.
Previous racing, we've seen the Italian perhaps have a little bit of extra height on the upwind. I was surprised that they couldn't live in that starting position a little lower.
I think we relieve out.
Copy.
Okay, my wheel.
Yep.
Coming down.
Don't go too early. Don't go too early.
Coming down.
He's going behind us. He's going behind us.
Cross to the Italians. Starboard tack advantage came across. Giles Scott grabs the wheel on those dips. Did you hear that? That was interesting.
Okay, boundary 15 away.
Okay, set up, let's.
Cruise just a little more animated on board both INEOS and Luna Rossa in the second race of the Prada Cup. And there's nothing in the second race. 6 legs were on the first upwind on the stadium course, and you can see the magnificent spectator fleet framed in front of Rangitoto.
Go for the cross. I'm going to go click over, kick on the boundary.
Copy.
On the line. That feels good.
This is so good. Look at these shots. I mean, this is welcome to the modern world of sailboat racing. Just incredible. I just can't get used to it.
Just let's go down onto the water with Anderson ratio. Advantage where? Who holds advantage at the moment?
Yeah, no problem. My right, my trap.
It looks from this vantage like we might be looking at Luna Rossa just barely across. You heard Jimmy talk about wanting to go just a hair over lane line just to put a little bit in the bank on that one. But it looks like it'll be them across.
Yes, yes.
Ready.
I mean, it looks like the Italians are just a click faster, Stephen.
Luna Rossa Prada Pirelli. Let's just say a click ahead of INEOS Team UK, rounding the left-hand mark at the top gate for the first time. You remember back in race number 1, the advantage was 1 minute and 20 seconds. Well, think again, different ball game, folks, in race number 2. That advantage is now just 11 seconds.
2, my pitch. 4 down.
Jive immediately looking for a bit of a split. Again, on a race course like this, it's probably okay to be a little less patient because you're not waiting for that big wind shift.
No, I agree. And remember, Nathan, he liked the right-hand side of the screen that we're looking at. He liked that. He thought there was more pressure over there. And maybe Giles Scott has seen exactly that.
Nathan, impressive leg by Prada, though. Really not a perfect start by them. They were in a vulnerable spot, and I think they just put the hammer down.
we are good.
Yeah, it was a very impressive first up win by Luna Rossa there. They started in probably too close to Lewin. You know, they didn't hold all the way to boundary, so they had to bail early. And I also think they went the wrong way in terms of pressure. I think the pressure is better on this left-hand side, further away from Rangitoto. It's pushing in quite hard. So for them to take the lead going the wrong way is very impressive. And I think INEOS have got a lot on here to try and get back into this one and take the lead back.
Very, very steady pressure everywhere at the moment.
I think more to come here on this side.
Yeah, over on this boundary, eh?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, we'll go all the way to it.
Brilliant view on our virtual eye. Doesn't it make a magnificent stadium feel in this second race of the Prada Cup final series? And Luna Rossa Prada Pirelli doing the job right now. This is the first downwind leg of this second race, and their lead is comfortable at the moment.
Well, like the boats, and what the boats can do, this virtual eye has changed our sport. You know, from a sport, surely, that was so hard to understand because of just this expansion of water and a mark kind of on the horizon to kind of a playing field that is easy to understand even for people who aren't sailors.
Great to look at the speeds going downwind, and there's not a heck of a lot between them. Took a little while for INEOS to get up and around that 40, 45 knot mark. We were talking around 52 miles an hour, surely.
But Prada have extended. I mean, look at how many meters. We're now nearly at 300 meters. They've done well on this run. Partly, I think, protecting that left-hand side of the course that Nathan favoured so much.
Luna Rossa Prada Pirelli, bottom gate for the first time. They'll take what we can see here is that we'll call it the left-hand mark, and they'll go around. They will fly around. And the one thing we have noticed as this regatta has progressed, not just this one, but the whole regatta, the smoothness with which they are going around and doing their moves. It was 11 seconds at the top mark. It's going to come out just a little bit, but this is well far from over. Both boards down for INEOS Team UK. 17 seconds now.
Your pitch or mine? Mine.
A much tighter rounding.
Yeah, that was an odd rounding by Luna Rossa, wasn't it? It just looked a little lazy going around there. I mean that with all due respect. Nothing is lazy on these boats, but it just looked a little wide, a little odd. Huh.
So both boats split on this stadium course. Let's listen in and see what's going on board.
Okay, crossing. Ready. 2, 1, board down.
Okay, got.
Turning.
I will.
28. Okay, main up.
Building here, 50.
Yeah.
32's coming up.
Nice. Working up a couple.
Leads come back in a little bit here, over 100 meters to gain back. They still like the left. Nathan likes the left. Everybody likes the left. Anderson, you know, INEOS has not obviously lost a race up until today this year. Are you surprised at what you see right now, or is this kind of making sense to you?
I mean, there's a little bit that's surprising to see them. You know, they're exiting a fair number of their maneuvers, especially their tacks with a little bit of leeward heel, and their rate of acceleration out of their tacks definitely seems to be a fair bit less than what you're seeing on Luna Rossa. Luna Rossa's just made a massive jump in how clean that they're sailing around the track.
Anderson, why would that be? What kind of things do you think they can change?
I think it's just more than anything else, Shirley, just practice, practice, practice. I mean, the more consistently you can just execute everything, the more you operate well as a nice, well-oiled machine, and this team seems to be functioning really well.
Let's go on board Luna Rossa, because the one thing we try and get is a bit of chatter, but the last time we went on board they were pretty comfortable considering they were leading. So let's just have a listen to see what's happening now in race number 2, where that lead has come down around 150, 60 meters.
He's tacked. Normal boat's good.
I think we go 1 and in left.
Yeah, sounds good.
That's good.
Yeah, way better pressure left.
He's behind he's on our line at about 5. You wanted to hit me?
Nathan, they keep, you still haven't adjusted out there, big boy. They still like the left too, just like you.
I'm glad they're seeing what I'm seeing. It's pretty obvious from up here. If I could get a radio to them, I'd be telling them the same thing. Take the left turn at the top, bear away, and just send it downwind. It's 5 knots windier on one side and the other at the moment.
Stand by, guys. 3, 2, 1. More down. Perfect. Full pressure on
My runner. And my Trav.
The Trav.
Jump on.
Crossing. My Trav.
You make it or not?
Main up, ragazzi.
Make it or not, they're talking about the ley line into this gate. They're trying to, obviously, Shirley, they're trying to minimize maneuvers right now, because on these race courses, Stephen, when you're going wall to wall, right, Shirley, you're going wall to wall, it's really just settle as much as you can. This is a boat speed contest. That's what we're looking at right now, much more so than a lot of the racing we've seen that's been very shifty with the breeze coming off the land.
And for people watching at home, the best way to figure out the boat speed is looking down and you see the knot rate. And obviously the Italians coming in now to the top gate to complete the halfway mark, shall we say, of this second race, race number 2 of the Prada Cup finals. They took race 1 by 1 minute and 52 seconds. They are in the lead in race number 2, and they're heading downwind on leg number 4 of 6. But you know, this is the crazy thing about these boats. You just don't know. As we see INEOS Team UK, they are firing into the top gate as well.
Your wheel.
The advantage has increased just slightly to Luna Rossa. It's now 19 seconds. On board Luna Rossa Prada Pirelli, the mood must be, it sounds confident.
There's no doubt, is there, that the Italians have a click of extra pace, and if you just have that tiny bit of extra pace, you can go exactly where you want. And they've completely dominated what we all think is the good side of the track.
More pressure for us at the moment.
Yes, yeah.
When you talk about getting better in increments, that's what we're seeing today. Little bits, slowly but surely, taking you towards the finish line.
Well, we talk now about marginal gains, but I mean, I think we're seeing a step up by the Italian outfit. I mean, this is impressive. We did not expect it to be so clean and so smooth and so much faster.
We have talked a lot on land about how confident the Italians have been, and they have been quite vocal.
Well, there's a fine line between confident and cocky, and I would actually shift them in kind of that cocky direction. You know, they have. That comment that Francesco had about there's nothing I like about the British boat. You know, that is fighting words, man. So you better be ready to back it up, right? They're backing it up.
They're backing it up.
There's no question. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I would have gone there, Cheryl, with the. That's pretty. They were. They hung it out there pretty good.
Strong speeds downwind by both these boats. Look at that, 44 knots and counting. And the lead by Luna Rossa Prada Pirelli sitting around the 280 mark. They haven't been behind all day.
Ready?
We talked before we start about the different jib choice. I mean, Kenny, do you think that's having a play here?
Yeah, well, so it's really a difference. It's not. I don't know if it's a huge size difference. It looks a lot different. The more this is a lower aspect, that's kind of a fathead jib. Looks different, but I'm not sure it's a huge size difference.
Luna Rossa Prada Pirelli about to complete leg 4 of 6. Bottom gate heading upwind for the last time.
Windy enough now, Stephen, that they're going around that leeward gate with both boards in to avoid that sideways skid. So the breeze is still on, Nathan, and it doesn't look like it's going to let up. This is like the perfect breeze for these guys, isn't it?
Okay. Yep.
Yeah, Ken, the breeze is just beautiful out here now, and you're spot on there. The last time Luna Rossa went round the bottom arc, they did a single board only, and that was that leeway skid, that big slow arc where I think they lost quite a few metres. It's definitely windy enough now for 2 boards down around these bottom arcs. It gives the boats that extra grip, and I haven't really understood it until I got in the helicopter, and now I can see from above how much grip they get with that windward foil and how the boat shoots upwind out of the bottom arc as opposed to sliding sideways. You can see why all the teams are doing it.
And coming up.
I think what Nathan just said is he's happy to be out there because when he's in the next America's Cup sailing one of these boats, he's already doing his homework for the next Cup.
Well, what I'm finding interesting,
that's what I read out of
how he's feeling the breeze in a helicopter about 700 meters above the water.
It's visual. We don't make it up, believe it or not. We can actually see the dark spots from time to time. We're not always right, but
I said feeling, not saying.
Okay.
Tags, we've got 25 back to boundaries right now. Yeah.
Giles Scott is kind of limited on a day like today, isn't he? He's kind of negated, Shirley, because it's just kind of a boat speed contest and not that shifty condition.
We've seen him really flourish, haven't we, when he's been on the stadium course, but out here it's more straightforward. It's much more about pace, picking the right side,
he follows,
covering the opposition.
Got an intersection 15 away. Yep. He's marginal 1 and in for that right turn. We're 2 and in left in 10 seconds. Okay, building
you
in
can really
5.
see it right there, the jib, that triangular jib on the black boat on INEOS, and then much more of a, well, I wouldn't call it a rectangle, but certainly a fathead jib on the other boat.
Ready.
I bet they all would wish they had, you know, Anderson, going out to you on the water, you know more about these boats than any of us do. I bet they both wish they had smaller jibs up at this stage, wouldn't they?
Yeah, actually, when I saw INEOS put that jib up, I was expecting that to go up much shorter on the hoist and expecting them to have almost a J3. When we were looking at this build coming, you'd almost be borderline J3 in these boats.
Luna Rossa Prada Pirelli sitting around 33 knots, but a lead of 260 meters, as you see it on our screen with our virtual eye. Just makes understanding this match racing, which it is match racing, so much better. We didn't expect match racing. We were talking about this a lot earlier, but this is quite simply cool.
Yeah, match racing. It's real racing. The upwind starts has clearly kind of changed the game back in a very interesting direction, at least for us diehard sailors. We see the intricacies or the details, and yeah, it makes it more fun. There's no question about that.
It's just happening, Stephen, at 10 times the speed
Yeah, right.
that we're used to seeing. But yeah, it's all the same, and it's great to hear the dialogue from the boats. It's exactly the same conversation that you would have on any match racing boat.
This is where you need to shout out when you're on the sailing on the helm bar. Feel the need for speed. Heading towards the top gate on the stadium course for the final time in race number 2. Much heavier winds for both these boats. It was a light air race, the first one, won by that beautiful boat there in Luna Rossa Prada Pirelli. There they go, Luna Rossa Prada Pirelli. They will head into the top gate for the final time. And they are simply honking that boat. They are going.
Here we go, boys.
One foil this time. It was 2 at the bottom gate, single foil this time, and they're on their way home. What a sight.
Good rounding, boys.
That's a relief rounding, right? That was Jimmy Spithill saying that was our last chance to really kind of have a major here. Breeze is up, no question. That he was kind of relieved to get around that thing.
2, 1.
INEOS Team UK get around the top gate for the final time. What have they got? What have they got in their kit bag going home?
Hi, sir. Okay, take any time here, Ben.
Okay, let's set up for a drive, guys.
Crossing. My pitch. Ready.
2, 1, all down. Down it.
E1 exit. High pitch. Okay, building.
What so often looks so smooth, it's still violent on board, isn't it? All the grinding, all the motion, all the maneuvers, all the systems, it's still what looks so gorgeous and eloquent from our vantage point here is literally violent on board.
You know, we didn't know what the performance gains would have been from both teams, and the teams didn't know what the performance gains were either. And I think the interesting thing about this series is actually it could go on a long time. So we will see gains and changes as this series progresses.
I wonder, Shirley, staying on that theme just for a short moment, whether the time in the shed for INEOS, it could be any team, whether you can get to a point where you're not realizing you're detuning the boat.
Well, I mean, maybe that's a question for Anderson, but, you know, I think you have a lot of data to check it on. And now the gains are much smaller.
The lead has lengthened for Rossa Prada Pirelli. It is quite choppy out there, isn't it? It is a bit stronger.
I think these guys are going to be kind of surprised because
even on exit.
I always say, would you switch boats today? You get in a race, in a match race like this, right? Would you change boats? If I were on INEOS right now, I'd have to say, yeah, I think I would, right?
Okay. Speed's coming.
Rossa Prada Pirelli. This is the final stage of race number 2 of the Prada Cup finals in 2021. They got it in race number 1 by 1 minute and 52 seconds, and I don't think anyone prior to this race series starting would have picked that Rossa Prada Pirelli would take a 2-0 lead in the Prada Cup final series, but that is what they have done. Rossa 2-0. A whack across the chops for INEOS Team UK. But we are very early in the piece. Remember, it's the first to 7 that goes on and faces Emirates Team New Zealand. We're 2 races down. Still a long way to go as INEOS Team UK. They'll be feeling this like a punch to the guts. Don't get worried about that. But remember, it's early. They've crossed the line. 26 seconds the margin. But it's Rossa victorious. Double victory, double delight for the Italian syndicate.
Okay. All right, guys. Good effort. Wasn't going to happen today. Just got to keep pushing.
I think we should let Shirley ask all the questions to Ben this time.
Well, you just listened to that comment from Ben Ainsley coming off the water. It wasn't enough today.
Not going to be happy. Not going to be happy. And surprised, don't you think? I think surprised.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, certainly in that second race, quite a lot more wind pressure. They were very comfortable in that the last time we saw them race. Yeah, what are you thinking now? How do you answer that?
Yeah. The other boat's not slow, I'll tell you that. You got to pull something out here. There's going to be a big old debrief in the British camp tonight, I can tell you.
Because the talk has always been about INEOS Team UK being a strong boat, a fast boat, and stronger winds. It was stronger winds and didn't see it, right?
I think that's slightly unfair because early on in the pre-Christmas, yes, they were kind of a one-trick pony. They had to have wind because they couldn't get up in light air. I think they evened out their performance top to bottom. We saw that in the round robin series. There's no question that they became a better all-around boat.
Confirmation, race 2, the first 2 races of the Prada Cup Final Series in 2021, and it's a double for Rossa Prada Pirelli. It was 1 minute and 50 seconds in race number 1, 26 seconds in race number 2, but they get the job done.
Well, here we go, back in the pre-start. We saw a little jockeying for position, there's no question. A little cat and mouse, push, chase, some good communications here, Shirley. It was a little bit of a dogfight.
It was great, wasn't it? You know, Jimmy Spittle pushing them back early, just jockeying for position, trying to start with enough of a gap off that they could take them all the way to the boundary.
But I think Ben did a nice job of actually closing the gap and making sure that when they did start, he was in close enough to affect them and push them away. But boat speed, boat speed, boat speed, a tactician's best friend, and these guys were ripping. Every time you looked at the boat speeds in the bottom left-hand corner, the Italians had a little bit of an edge, and that first cross proved to be the key cross, and guess what? They just did what they had to do, right? There was nothing hard, nothing difficult. They just took a simple route around the racetrack and kind of dominated.
They were fast. Apart from one maneuver, it was slick, and the decision-making, consequently, was strong.
And here was that maneuver, that skid sideways, that little bit of a wide rounding. We couldn't see the skid from this angle, but Nathan reported from up top that it was really interesting to watch from up there. Just ripping. Just nothing else to say. Ripping. Smooth maneuvers, smooth roundings. They used both boards at the leeward gate, and then here was the final gate mark that Jimmy Spithill, you could hear a little relief in his voice as they went around. Okay, got that one ticked off. And off we go down to have a nice, pretty comfortable 400 or 500 meter lead at the finish and a 2-0 lead at the end of day one. Really well done by the Italians.
So when you talk about increments, 11 seconds, 17 seconds, 19 seconds, 18 seconds, and 26 seconds. And that was the way Luna Rossa Prada Pirelli triumphed on the opening day of the Prada Cup. On board Luna Rossa Prada Pirelli. Time to change it up and talk to Jimmy Spithill. In boxing parlance, Jimmy, that's a couple of good rips either side, but it's not a knockout blow, but nice way to start the series.
Yeah, it was a good day. I thought the boys sailed really well on board. Still obviously a few things I think we need to sharpen up on, but great job by the team. Boat was performing very, very well.
So, Jimmy, take us through that pre-start. You obviously, there's a choice, right? That big moment of choice. Do you lead back from the position you were in, or do you push? Were you guys really comfortable in that push position in the pre-start? Was the timing working for you in that position?
Yeah, it was pretty close. I mean, we've been working pretty hard with Philippe, Keko and I, just trying to really break down these starts. I mean, we're really learning every time we go out on the water because we, for a class, we haven't done a whole lot of racing. But no, we got off. We were able to hang for a little while, but obviously not all the way to the boundary. But, we kind of like the riders who were heading up there. And, yeah, the boys executed some great maneuvers and were able to sort of get round ahead of them.
Jimmy, what a great day. A massive congratulations. Let's talk pace. It looked like you had a click of pace, both upwind and downwind. How surprised were you by that?
Look, we know we've got a great boat. We've got a great package here and a very good team backing us up on the shore. So we're confident in our boat. And but having said that, we still know there's quite a bit there on the table. As I said, we made a few mistakes today, and we'll definitely be going back to try and sharpen up on those for tomorrow.
Willing to tell us what those mistakes were without giving anything away?
Yeah, maybe later, mate.
Yeah, all right. Thanks, Jimmy. Appreciate it. Congratulations. Great start to the Prada Cup finals. 2-0.
Thanks, guys.
Let's go on board INEOS Team UK. Sir Ben Ainsley waiting to talk us through what went down in race number 2. Ben, you said you've got to keep pushing. Can you break down that race for us?
Yeah, it's pretty even start and close first beat. The Italians did a good job. They just sailed that slightly bit faster, a little bit better, obviously around the course. So yeah, credit to them. We'll have to go away and think about how we can get a little bit more pace and look at some of the things we didn't get quite right.
Yeah, a little more of a boat speed contest compared to some of these stadium course races, those shifty races. So does that change your strategy, or do you see a difference in boat speed, or take us through that style of race course?
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. It's a pretty steady breeze, so it's much more of a drag race. And once one boat's in front, credit to Luna Rossa. They're a great team. It's going to be pretty hard to get past, and they're going to make many mistakes for you. So, as opposed to perhaps the course in Shore, Course C, or some of the other courses where there's, all the wind's coming off the land, and there's some shifts there, and then, the course can open up quite quickly. So, yeah, different day, and let's see what we get tomorrow.
Thanks for your time, Ben. Keep fighting. I know lots to talk about. Look forward to seeing you tomorrow.
Thanks, guys.
So as the spectator fleet heads home, we'll just break down the numbers for you. It was a very quick race when you think about it, just under 22 minutes.
Yeah, distance sailed a little bit more for the Brits. Boat speeds, downwind boat speed, literally identical. Upwind speed, a little click of pace, and that's what we saw, Shirley, when it was against American Magic as well. That's where their speed gain was.
There's not much in it. There is not much in it. Wow.
That has to be remembered too. You keep talking about that click of pace, but how big the increments are on a click of pace. Let's take a look at the efficiency analysis. And Kenny, I know you love the worm, so talk us through the worm.
I love the worm.
You love the worm.
Yeah. Well, we're going to see a whole not a whole lot in it. Remember, on the left-hand side is the boat speeds. On the bottom is the marks, call it time. So the bottom, you're looking for the highest lows, for example. The bottom of each of these zigzags, you're not looking for big mistakes. The gaps between these maneuvers, and obviously all these zigzags are the maneuvers themselves. There's really a lot in it, and that's why we saw a very close race.
All right, speaking of close races, let's take a look at the key moment from race 2 in the Prada Cup series, and it was that first cross on the opening leg.
Surely pretty simple. They got forced away and still came back ahead, and there's the dip that Luna Rossa has right away.
Yeah, Luna Rossa got to the right-hand side. They got the boat rumbling. They got in the groove, and they extended enough to cross in front.
Close, but not close enough. And exactly what Ben Ainsley said, they're a good team. They simply put their elbows out, as our friend Stephen MacGyver likes to say. That was your original phrase, by the way. What's that? Put your elbows out. They put their elbows out. They didn't let them by. And when the boat ahead is sailing fast and doesn't make any mistakes, guess what? They're going to win.
Just remember, it wasn't an original. It wasn't an original phrase. I've heard it before.
You can take it.
I'll take it. All right. But most importantly, what the taking will be done today, we'll take one thing. Luna Rossa Prada Pirelli are a quick boat, and in this all-important Prada Cup final series, they have a 2-0 lead going into day number 2 tomorrow. You know, a big part of the game here at the America's Cup is reconnaissance. Well, we could call it spying if you want. Knowing as much as possible about your rival's boat can, at times, pay dividends out on the race court. And with one of the 3 challengers having now exited the competition here in Auckland, who better to ask about the finer details of the 2 teams lining up in this Prada Cup final?
The number one obvious difference between the 2 in their hull shapes is the size and shape of their bustle. INEOS with the more dramatic square-shaped bustle, with Luna Rossa more of the rounded shape, both which will help to provide the end plating effect necessary to carry the sail plan all the way down to the water when the boat is up and flying, but also will allow both boats a fair amount of buoyancy to get up and skid across the water through their acceleration phase to get up onto their foils faster. Both INEOS and Luna Rossa are currently sailing with an anhedral angled foil, where you've got your foil that comes down and terminates at a certain point and then goes out to wings that are on an angle. You know, that's designed to sort of try to maximize the wing span potential, and they've got traditional flaps on the back end. Both teams will know very well what their limitations are of their own foils, and how they play that relative to their opponent is going to be an obvious component of the Prada Cup finals. And you've got 11 people on board who have to handle flight control, sail control, keep your head out of the boat, look at what's happening with the breeze, look at what's happening with your competitor. And these two teams have taken dramatically different approaches. Luna Rossa, as you know, has two helmsmen. Whoever is the windward helmsman is driving the boat and controlling the trim of the boat. And the leeward helmsman is just flying the boat. Whereas INEOS they also have two flight controllers, except they don't exchange those between their helmsmen, they exchange those between one of their grinders. Now, INEOS also has a pass-through through Giles Scott and through Ben, where they can control the trim of the boat. So they have the same capabilities spread amongst multiple people on INEOS that sort of gets passed through when you hear them in the communication loop say, my pitch, my trim, my roll, my heel. Those are the guys passing back and forth control of different mechanisms.
Turning. My pitch. My pitch. My wheel. Your wheel.
I honestly do believe that this series is going to be really, really close.
Okay, Fox has got us just making lay here.
I do have a gut instinct, and it's purely gut instinct that Luna Rossa is going to pull it out.
Pressure everywhere here.
If they can keep Pietro's head out of the boat, looking around and making sure that he's got a good handle on wind shifts.
Better pressure this side here now.
Yeah, I think they'll be incredibly even matched, and it wouldn't surprise me if this thing went all the way to the full 13 races.
The Italian flag is flying proudly, and why wouldn't it be in the Viaduct Harbour over their bases? They head home being towed home, and boy, that'll be a happy camp tonight.
This is the most incredible part of the day, towing in, by the way. It's unbelievable to watch in person. They're going to be thrilled. There's no other way to say it. 2-0, that's what you need to do. That's what you're here for.
There's no high-fiving, though, is there, Stephen? They know there's a long way to go. And I think because it's such a long series, we're going to see a whole range of conditions, of different racetracks, lots on. Yeah, you know, the crazy thing about this is you used the word cocky about the Italians, but Jimmy Spittle was actually quite composed, called out some mistakes, says, no, we've still got work to do. So for me, that tells that their head is well in the game. No question. This isn't his first rodeo. You know, he's done this before. Most of this crew has done it before. Very few rookies in this crew, a lot of veterans, a lot of seasoned veterans that have won and lost cups, and they know how it feels. They know how to pace themselves as well. As we look at Luna Rossa, Philip Presti is a rarity in the America's Cup sailing fraternity. The 55-year-old Frenchman rose to prominence through Olympic sailing and is now an America's Cup specialist. 6 campaigns, 2 wins to his name. He's here for one reason and one reason only, to coach that team. Luna Rossa Prada Pirelli to victory.
Sure. 2, 1. America's Cup. Oh my goodness. My first memory of the America's Cup was pretty much the victory of the Australian in Newport. Then the second time when I really saw an America's Cup boat, and they asked me to drive it. That was with the French team in 2000. I think it was 2001. And all of a sudden, I had 17 guys around me and big ship. And I love that. You know, so first second I was. Say, yep, I want to do that. The Olympics was really, that was my path for 15 years, and that's really a lonely road, especially when you're sailing single-handed. That was really hard at the end for me. And so I was pretty happy to move to something bigger, and yeah, it's very addictive. At one stage, I decided just to move on the coaching side. And since then, I'm very pleased that I'm just a facilitator. I help them to grow, and I love that. It's not only looking at the detail, it's looking at what's the thinking process of all the designers, the sailors,
to build that thing. And that gives you a path to what's the next move. These guys on the water, there's no more on the coach that he is an old guy we know who have seen everything and teach the truth. It doesn't exist anymore because the boats are evolving so quick. 1 year ago, you wouldn't imagine about these boats sailing around, you know. And every day, the guy on the water had the one that create the future.
Copy that.
We're lucky. We're in an environment, exciting environment. We're building the future of sailing. You know, every boat and every sort of vessel on the water is foiling. And that happened in, what, 10 years, and I was part of it. I was in the middle of that. It's just awesome. Sometimes I wake up at night, but it's more about my Olympic campaign than America's Cup, because that's for sure last Cup. If you want to do it again, you would find ways to do it better. But you know, it's done, behind. Just take lesson and move on. That's why I like the game, because of that. Because this is an amazing trophy, and it won't be easy to steal it from the Kiwi, but it's possible. Yeah, it's possible.
The victorious Rossa Prada Pirelli heading back into base with our chase boat 1 following it like a faithful little dog going home for its dinner. On chase boat 1 is Anderson Reggio. What do you make of the day, Anderson?
Oh, I thought Luna Rossa looked very, very smooth out there today. INEOS may have had a little bit of rust in a couple of their maneuvers, and obviously falling off foils in race 1 hurt them pretty badly. Race 2 looked like, you know, once Luna Rossa in the pre-start noticed that INEOS was running a little early, they were able to execute their plan perfectly, win that first cross, and sort of walk away with it looking just as smooth.
All right, we appreciate your time on the water for us today too, Anderson. Anderson Reggio, testing manager for American Magic. Up to the sky now, and heli number 2 with Nathan Atteridge. Wow, what do you make of all that? Did you pick that?
I don't think anyone picked that. I think we're all probably thinking it was going to be a bit more even than that. I think what I learned from the sky today is that Luna Rossa are fast, not just in the light wind like that first race, but they look fast in the medium winds too. So INEOS need to find some speed, or they need to hope that they move the race course back into the harbour where it's going to be shiftier, where Ben and Giles can start picking some shifts, because if they don't get the speed, they've got to find a smarter way to get around them.
Good to know you didn't need the sick bag either up there.
As far as you know.
No, all good up here. Don't you worry about me, mate.
All right, Shirley. Sad old day for INEOS, but a long way to go. But that was a surprise. Let's be blunt.
Yeah, we're in a little bit of shock. I mean, we expected both teams to have progressed in the time, but boy, that was very impressive from the Italian outfit.
Would it be unfair to say that INEOS have taken a step backwards, or INEOS or Luna Rossa have come further forward in their improvements?
Yeah, I think Luna Rossa look good, don't they?
Upwind speed,
way better.
Upwind speed. They had clearly improved their upwind speed against American Magic, and just kept on going here today. So really, this is about upwind speed to me. They're very clear.
So we're going to see potentially more drag racing, and who would you favour going forward if you'll make a bold prediction on drag racing?
Ask Ian where this next race course is going to be. If you're Ben Ainsley and Giles Scott right now, bring us back into the stadium course as quick as possible so it gets shifty and weird. All right, it's the best of 7 series. Let's just remind you of where it all stands now. The best of 7, you get a point for each race win, and well, it's not too hard to figure this one out. Look at that. Double delight, 2-0, and Luna Rossa Prada Pirelli are only 5 race wins away at this very early stage of heading on to the match to face Emirates Team New Zealand. Tomorrow we're back into it. Yes, we're looking forward to it and cannot wait. INEOS Team UK in race number 3 will have port entry. It'll be starboard entry for the Italians in race number 3, and then we flip it over for race number 4. But that is it done for day number 1 of the 2021 Prada Cup races. We didn't know what was going to happen. What happened today, that boat there, the challenger of record, going with an advantage, 2-0. We'll see you tomorrow.
Today's America's Cup Racing is brought to you from Auckland, New Zealand.